everybody. This is Starting Out Bright. I'm Noreen Savage, and you're in for a treat because Sandy Thomas is in the house. And so, just to get started, I want to introduce myself very quickly, who I am, but especially who I'm not. I am nobody official with Bright Line Eating, but the program has done a lot for me. And I got acquainted in 2019 by a friend who posted on Facebook that she lost 57 pounds in 1 year with a program called Bright Line Eating. If anybody was interested, all they had to do was send her a message. So my hot little fingers got over to the messenger, and I asked my friend Lori what was the scoop. And she told me there was a book written by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson called Bright Line Eating. And in the book, Dr. Thompson describes 4 bright lines that you don't cross. No sugar, no flour, 3 meals a day, weighed and measured portions. And when I heard all that, I was sunk. I thought there's absolutely no way I could do all of that. But here I had been dieting for almost 3 decades. So I let that sit, and I got together with my friend Lori just over lunch and asked her more questions. And she told me, Noreen, if you're going to do this, get in the program by getting in with people. And she suggested the group We Eat Right with Lines. It's a private group still going strong. Starting Out Bright is another private group associated with these Zoom chats. And so I was really excited about getting in the group. And there I sat and watched and listened and saw the amazing transformation taking place with people, losing not just 5 or 10 pounds, but 30, 50, 100, 150. And for the first time in a long time, I felt hope that I hadn't felt for many, many days, many, many weeks. I was 270 pounds at the time. Right now, I'm a little over 90 pounds lost, so I'm still not there at my goal, but I was at 270 at 5'2", feeling neuropathy in my hands and my feet. I knew that diabetes was around the corner. I snored every night, and I had excruciating back and knee pain. It was really getting difficult to walk. And so I decided to do it. And I promised myself that if I lasted 1 year, I would do what my friend Lori did. I would post on my Facebook page and I would help anybody I could. Well, the year was up and I'm getting ready to post. I'm a Christian and I felt God say, Noreen, you can do more than that. You can connect people. All these stories that you heard, if you could just connect those people with those who needed hope like you did, wouldn't that be great? And so that's how the Zooms were born. But who would come? Well, who comes is someone who's willing to help even just one person to overcome the struggle of their health, their weight, food addiction, whatever it is for them, by helping one. And that's what we have tonight. We have Sandy, who is that one, taking one for the team. So Sandy, welcome. And we had a chance to
Thank you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and tell your story. If you could just tell a little bit about yourself and what was your entry into BLE, Bright Line Eating?
Well, it was a wonderful entry. It was like you. I love your story. And thank you so much for reaching out, not just to me, but to so many people and encouraging us. I think this is a beautiful opportunity. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I started, I'm 5'2" as well, and I was never a heavy person. It just was my luck. I just never was very heavy until probably around the late 1990s, and we had some pretty heavy family problems come through, health problems come through our family, and literally shook me to the core. And I think that's when I started just finding comfort wherever I could, and I could eat. I couldn't do a lot of other things, but I could eat, and I did. And that's where I put on my weight. And it was not me. I'd always been active. We have 10 kids, and that kept me really active.
Yeah.
And I loved running. It was just something I had done all the time, even when my kids were little. In fact, one time I was running just had a baby at home with the sitter, and I was out running, broke my leg. Kind of set us back a little while, but it was what I loved to do. So I took a break from running and started eating, and then it got to the point where I realized I was just not happy. Running wasn't much fun anymore, and my weight was just climbing. And so I tried lots of different things. You hook onto anything you think might make a difference, and nothing did. And I was actually walking one day with a friend, and we were talking, and I was so discouraged. I told her, I said, Rita, if I can't take this weight off, I'm going to find a knife and carve it away, because I can't handle it anymore.
Wow.
And then, yeah, it was, I think I realized then that I really needed some help. I needed to spend some money, which is something I didn't do very often.
Right.
But I hired a personal trainer, and I'm diligent. I try very hard. Whatever they ask me to do, and so she put me on I think it was a 1,500 calorie diet, and worked me on weights, and I talk her into going outside running with me sometimes, but it didn't matter. I couldn't drop the weight off. It just stayed there, and I kept telling her, this is too many calories. I can't eat this much. And she'd say, no, you have to have this much. Anyway, we did this back and forth thing for quite a while. She dropped my calorie limit, and the weight didn't move at all. I don't know. I don't have an answer for why it stayed. But anyway, in the middle of that, my sister-in-law, she knew I'd been trying to lose weight. And so she contacted me, and she said that she had been through a boot camp with BLE, which I had no idea what that meant, but she said she had a coupon that she would give me that would help me if I wanted to do a boot camp like she had done. So in fact, it was kind of funny, because I wasn't real sure. I mean, I was so discouraged. Nothing had worked, and I was like, I don't even know if I want your coupon and spend the rest of the money to do this. And she finally said, maybe I'll just save this coupon for somebody else, because I don't want to waste it on you if you're not going to really use it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm really listening.
Yeah. I know. I hung up, and I thought, okay, I'm calling her back. So I got her
already
coupon.
Spending a bunch of money with the trainer, right?
I was,
Yeah.
but nothing had worked for years. So yeah.
Right. I've been there.
So anyway,
So you got into boot camp.
Got into boot camp. And in fact, Linda had reached out to some other of our sister-in-laws and stuff, and offered the same thing. So I feel really blessed. I got to start boot camp with my sisters. And so we kind of, with Linda as our guide, we kind of all prepped and got ready to do it. And there was a real excitement to it.
Yeah. And community.
So, yeah.
But you
yeah.
also got in, you were saying before, when we talked the other day, this was before the book was out, right? So you didn't have a book.
Right.
But you had this boot camp at least, and you had the program.
Right.
Okay.
And Susan did modules. She would do modules, and we would get on and watch and listen. Mm-hmm. And I was so impressed with her. her demeanor about the whole program was kind of like, if food's a problem, get away from the food and look to being more helpful, more compassionate, more service oriented. In fact, I remember one time she talked about being at a party, and there was all this not my food, and she said she just went into the kitchen and asked what she could do to help. She was serving people, she was taking away dishes, and I think that was a key thing for me, because I'm also a Christian, and service is just part of that, looking out for the other person.
Right.
And I thought, if I can turn from taking care of my own food needs and look towards serving others in a simple, easy way, I'd feel really comfortable.
Right. And taking the focus off the food. I actually just had this happen to me about a week ago, going to a party. And, at the end, there's the food wrap up. And I thought, whoa, I do not want to get into the food. I'm already telling myself it's just food. It's just sitting there on the table. Let me be of service, kind of following that same thing, instead of getting in the food, how about I help with dishes? And it really does make a difference. And the conversations are still going on in the kitchen, so, you are feeling a part of it. I really love that.
Well, and I think it filled a need that food fills. Food makes you feel a part of what's going on, but you don't have to have the food to be a part of it.
True. And that's really something that we're forced to be around food all the time. I mean, gatherings, every day it seems there's something else. I had that in the office today. There was all kinds of not my food again. But instead of that, how about have the conversations that why are we having the food? So it's, it's really a different mind shift to taking our mind off the food itself. So how did the weight loss go for you with boot camp? Did it come off quickly?
Oh, it was so wonderful. It did. It came off very quickly for me. We started, I think it was February 9th of 2016. And I had lost I think 6 pounds through the trainer over a period of 6 months, maybe close to 8 months. And even that wasn't steady. That would come back, Yeah. So I think my first weigh in with BLE was close to 157. That's a guess, but I know I was just shy of 160. And I'm 5'2". Like I said, should be more like 110, 15, 20. Age varies a little bit in there, but yeah, I had plenty of extra on me. And we actually had a family reunion. We went to Harrison Lake in northern Idaho with all our kids and grandkids, and it was so fun. And we did that in July, and I was 126 at the time. One of my sons said to his wife, who was also involved with BLE, he said, I haven't seen my mom that thin for years. So, and I felt so good. In fact, one of the photos in the preview that you put up was, I think I had a blue wrap on, but I'll never forget that day, because we were out at the lake in our suits and our wraps and stuff. And I was running for some reason. I was running from one place to another. And I remember feeling like I could fly. It felt so good to just be rid of all that heavy and just move,
Wow.
It was a dream for me. I keep that up here because I have gained some of that weight back. And I just want one day to feel that again, to run and feel like I'm flying.
Right. You had said just get there and fly again the other day.
Yeah,
That is that. But let's talk about that for a second because you lost the weight quickly. And when we talked the other day, you said it was a mistake because you felt like you got overconfident. And I think that
very.
is really common. I know it happened to me too, that I had a lot more to lose than what you're talking about. But even as the few sizes go down so quickly, it's like I'm losing weight like it's a sport. It's like, this is so great until it's not. Because when you start going off plan, it's not going to happen anymore. And then what really hit me was what you said the other day, like, I can just do it again. So were you able to just do it again?
Oh, I thought so. So from the reunion, which this is like planted in my head, from the reunion, we went to Washington to celebrate a grandson's birthday, and of course they had not my food, and I ate. I was part of the party. I was back to feeling good and feeling happy, and I ate some of the foods, and then we moved as a family. So we all moved to Utah to another grandson's birthday, and again I felt so good, and I have pictures from even those days, and I looked good, I felt good, and I just ate whatever I wanted. And I know that was the start of it. I don't remember the details after that, but yeah, it didn't take very long at all. And I was back up to, I think I eventually got back to about 145. And for me, every little pound is hurtful. It may not be big numbers, but that pound hurts. So I
So how did
I
you turn the ship around? How did you get your mindset? Because it is a mindset again. How did you finally turn it around to, and I know that you right now you're saying you're not at goal of what you think would be goal, but you're living in a healthy weight for you, um, from what we've talked about. So how did you get back to thinking, wait a minute, I can't just go and do the birthday parties and everything and still maintain this lower weight that I'm enjoying, where I'm feeling like I'm as light as a feather?
Well, when you think that and when you enjoy like I did, you don't stay there. It comes right back on. And as it started creeping up, the the dresses that I was so excited to finally wear again weren't fitting. My running wasn't feeling comfortable. I mean, imagine even 10 pounds, carrying a 10-pound bag of sugar and run. It's dumb. It's just put down the sugar.
Right.
So yeah, so I wasn't comfortable, and I knew it. In fact, I wanted to share in your what did you call it when you first put up the screen?
Like the
And
slideshow?
yeah, the slideshow. In the first slide of there's two pictures. There's me with a pink top on, and then me in a red dress. Well, the pink top is just disgusting, and I'm really sorry. But the red dress. So after my fifth child was born, our fifth child was born, I had never maintained my pregnancy weight. It just came off. I was just lucky, blessed, however you want to say it. And when I was pregnant with Daniel, for Christmas, Dan got me a beautiful white maternity dress, and he bought me this it's a red silk dress. And it's just a dream to even touch. I loved it. But it's I think a size 4. And he said, I'm giving you both. He said, you'll need the white one for a little while longer, but I know you'll get into the red one before too long. Yeah. So after each baby, my goal was get back in that red dress. And after our last baby was born in 1990, I got back in it. I mean, I was like, yay, we're here, we're doing well and moving on and loving it. But over time, that dress got pushed further and further in the back of the closet until BLE. And then I said, I'm getting back in that dress. And I did. And so that picture was really meaningful for me.
That's the story. And you can still fit in that dress, right?
Not now.
Yet. Okay. Well,
not now.
Okay.
That's my goal. I still have it, and I'm gonna, and I keep it just for that goal. I'm gonna get back in it. Yeah.
When we talked, Sandy, there was something that was just astounding, though, that you were able to accomplish, and you hadn't even planned on it, and that was to get healthier. Can you talk about what you said was even a bigger deal to you than feeling so light and free on that day in Idaho?
When that fifth child was just a couple months old, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. I was the first one in our family, and since then we've had others come up with health issues. But I have a sister with Crohn's, severe Crohn's, and I have a son who's had severe Crohn's. And my diagnosis was ulcerative colitis, and it's very, very, very painful. You just hurt from the inside out. At the time, there was nothing that they could really do. No real good medications. You just kind of lived with it. The pain was horrendous. But even sometimes worse than the pain was the situations I'd find myself in. I don't know how graphic you want me to be.
It's okay with me. And as you know, I was really ignorant on the topic. I've known a lot of things about diabetes and high blood pressure, even cancer and things like that in my family. But that has not been something that is something I've been aware of. I thought it was a feeling like of twisted intestines. That's what I thought it was. But you described a much more severe situation on a daily basis. And it's okay to talk about it if you feel comfortable. Because there may be others who don't know the severity of ulcerative colitis.
And if you want, you can mute. It's a disease of the large intestines. Crohn's, you may have heard, it's a disease of the small intestines, of basically the same thing. The lining of the intestines wears away and becomes ulcerated, which means it's like it's shredding, and you bleed intestinally, but you have very little control of your bowels and very, very painful. Things don't move through well, and it's just it. So when I was diagnosed, and this would have been, I think, 84, 85. I'm aging myself now, aren't I? But the doctors, I had 3 doctors who reviewed the exam, and I won't even tell you how they examined because it was primitive. But when they were through, my personal doctors said, we've seen 3 other women that are as bad as yours, and 2 of them have passed on, and 1 wears a bag. And so obviously I didn't know where I would end up with the bag or I remember worrying about my children and who was going to watch them, who was going to love them, and would my husband find another mother, or so it was a real worrisome time, and it hung with me. Well, I've seen a gastroenterologist most of my life, and I've been treated. I've been on all kinds of medications. Not much helps. That was too dangerous sometimes to do the surgeries that would maybe help a little bit, but it wasn't looking good. But it was something I was learning how to just live with. I usually had an extra set of clothes at work. I see one of my coworkers there. I don't know if she knew, maybe, but
Amazing.
yeah, I had to be really careful about when I went places and be prepared for whatever might happen because I just wouldn't know. It did subside a little. I remember feeling better in the 2000 15s maybe. I'm not real good on years anymore, but thinking where I'm at now, it was, I think maybe I was coming to terms with that's what I have, and that's how I had to deal with it. I know there were times I would drive myself to the hospital in so much pain, and they just lay me flat and give me some morphine. And
Wow.
yeah,
So
first time.
when you started getting into, go ahead. You were saying first time.
Oh, just very painful. And my personal life at this time, my husband has he has a disability now that we weren't planning on, and our last daughter was disabled. So I was pretty much the provider, and I had to be able to care. I had to be able to care for them. So I would do whatever I needed to do, but it was really not pretty. So I started BLE in 2016. In the later years, getting into that time, my gastro would do colonoscopies regularly, and he would say things are looking okay, and there wasn't quite as much problem in those later years, 1918. 17, 18. I didn't notice it as much. My last colonoscopy with him, particularly, he said, "You look really good. I don't see any problems," and which was just a huge relief. But I didn't know what was going to happen the next day. So we made a move. I retired that year, and we made a move. And so I saw a gastro here close to our new home. And I've had a couple colonoscopies since then. And they say, "You look like you've never had it. Your intestines look."
It's just amazing to hear that. It's just absolutely amazing for the magnitude of what you went through. And this is after clean eating. You had kind of an idea of why. I mean, and obviously this isn't scientific, because I will tell you all that when Sandy told me this, I was so blown back. I said, so I'm imagining the doctor wants you to go on a speaking tour, that you're going to be telling everybody who are suffering with this how in the world they can overcome this disease, or I guess you call it disease, right? Because it doesn't normally get better. And that was not what happened. It was just accepted that, okay, you're good. And I would think you'd want to shout this from the rooftops if there was hope for somebody going through that struggle. So what is the scoop on that? Nothing against the doctors, but I'm just saying, when something helps like this, it's like we gotta get the word out.
Well, I had lived with it for so long that it was just a part of my life. And when they said it's clear, I really honestly thought, okay, well, when's it going to flare up again? Because and that's okay with me, because I'm just doing this because this is my life,
Yeah.
So I did really it took me a couple years to think through. Gosh, it sure feels good. I don't hurt anymore, and I don't have to carry extra clothes around. And and I started thinking probably within the last year, maybe two. You know how when you make bread, I'm going to use not my food names,
Yeah.
but when you make bread, you get out your bowl and you put your water in, and you put a little bit of yeast in, and you put a little bit of sugar on it, and your yeast bubbles up so nice, and you put that in with your mixer to make your bread, and that's just what yeast does. You want it to rise, and the sugar helps it. And I just one day was thinking, oh, probably not one day, probably over a period of days, but you know, if you're putting yeast and sugar, and anything really made with flour generally has yeast. If you're putting yeast and sugar together in a bowl that's broken and torn, lacerated, and the yeast is growing, it's going to hurt. It's going to do some damage. So that's my way of looking at what's happened with my ulcerated colitis, is that I don't feed it anymore. I don't put the flour with the yeast or the sugar to help it grow in. I don't know.
I'm hoping that one person hears this tonight that will take a chance. That's what I'm hoping, because this is just absolutely astounding to me. You know what, Sandy, I want to talk a little bit about really what connected me with you. When on the Starting Out Bright page, you have this wonderful way of committing for the day. And that is, you can go ahead and talk about it. It's, first of all, I was wondering, what is TY of LJ? It's like you have this code acronym going on, but you start out by saying what day it is, and what day is today. 2,403. I read it this morning, and that's just incredible. But then you say TY of LJ. What does that mean?
I actually borrowed that from somebody. It's at the year of living joyfully. And when we talked before, you asked me about last year, and it was happy, thin, and free.
Okay.
But when she mentioned that the year of living joyfully, I thought, oh, definitely, that's going to be my model this year. I want to just live joyfully.
Wonderful. And then you commit your food, but you don't commit it in a way of exactly what food it is. Can you talk about that too?
Yeah, I can. I used to commit the food, and I think that's the way we're encouraged to do it. After 2,400 some odd days, it was really too confining for me. So I've changed it recently, probably a year ago, giving myself the liberty to know that I'm going to be bright and I'm going to pick my food that morning. I might get up and I might want an apple versus an orange. And if I'd written an orange, I felt compelled that I had to eat the orange. But I knew I wanted to be bright. I just wanted the freedom to choose at that meal. Maybe that doesn't work for someone else, but it works for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then at night, I try to go back and put that food in that I've eaten, so that I'm accountable for what I ate, and it shows. But I have the liberty to pick for the meal.
And I noticed that you don't really eat the full volume of vegetables. I was assuming after we talked, it was because of the ulcerative colitis that you probably didn't get in all those vegetables from the beginning. And have you found that that's just been enough then, or do you feel like you're really hungry after like dinner and you have to fight it?
No, I'm rarely hungry. I get more nervous about wanting food. It's that nervous hunger than hungry. I think that's why I really didn't gain a lot of weight before, because I don't get hungry. And maybe some of that was the colitis actually giving me that feeling of too full, kind of, I don't know. So I couldn't eat that much, especially vegetables, raw vegetables at first with the colitis. It was too much and too painful just to walk around. So over time, I did cut back on that, and I find that I'm not hungry now, and I don't need more than what I eat.
And you also, when you commit to different things during the day that you're going to do, which I just find so lovely, because we are more than the food. Our lives are more than the food. We have other things that are important too. And to just write them down and commit to the whole thing. But then you say you check in and you check out. Now, I haven't been seeing you check out with the Starting Out Bright group, but I know that you're with another group with your that you started out with, right? And so that
Right.
is where you go back and you actually kind of put a bow on it, right? You finish up what you started.
I do. I was with Horizon House from the beginning. Then when they made this change, I'm now in what they call maintenance house. I don't consider myself in maintenance, and they let me be there, but I do go back in, and I've checked in and checked out with them from the beginning. I didn't start checking out with Starting Out Bright because I felt like I was intruding a little bit to begin with. Here's a new person, and she's always on. It's like, oh my gosh,
no.
she's there morning and night. so I
No,
was like,
I think it's wonderful. And I have a question from Megan, who's wondering, what quantities of veggies do you eat? Because it is not as much as what's written in, the book in the program, but for you, it's plenty. So what is that?
I usually eat my bulk of veggies at noon. It just settles easier for me. So I may have a salad that day. It's usually around 8 ounces. It may get up to 10, but rarely anything over that. So 8 to 10 then. And at night, depending on what I've had at lunch and how I'm feeling, I might have 6 to 8 ounces of veggies for dinner.
So not really too much on the light side, but enough for you. And I kind of interrupted you when you said you felt kind of like you shouldn't be posting so much. Trust me, post away. Everybody loves it. And it also gives them an idea too. This is the thing. We get ideas from each other. We get, I think that as we see others putting a spin on their program and to make it workable for them, that it is easier. For example, I have to talk about the exercise a little bit because you love running. Now, you were with a trainer. Did you continue exercising when you began BLE? And how much
definitely.
are you exercising now?
Okay, so I'm not as good anymore as I used to be, but I loved running, and so I trained. That's how I would spend my afternoons. I had beautiful places to run and just see. I love going off, and seeing new things, and my mind is filled with memories of things that I've enjoyed and loved as I've run places. I've been running for all my adult life, but my girls helped me get started into half marathons. So I just finished my second one this year. I try to do at least 2 a year. I didn't train as well for this one, and it showed, but I hope to just keep on doing it. So that's my exercise. In the winter, I have a treadmill. I used to have an elliptical, and I would just do that. I have weights, but I don't pull them out too much. I just love running.
And here I thought I did well with 10 squats today.
You did. I didn't do 10 squats.
And Wendy's giving me a thumbs up. Yeah, but I'm calling it, I'm just being open about it. I'm calling it loving movement. I'm on year 3 of this, and I could should myself all over the place of what I should be doing by now, but suffice it to say that I've finally realized I need to move. I was coming out in the stress mode, lack of sleep, and inflammation. And when you were talking a little bit earlier about you couldn't lose weight no matter what you tried, just before that, you said how stressful the situation was. I'm thinking the two go together. There's this thing, and I know Deb's over there as a PA thinking there's probably cortisol or adrenals on overload or whatever's going on. And we're not going to lose weight at that point. I mean, no matter what we try, number one, if we're not sleeping well, we're probably not going to lose weight. But when our adrenals are on overload and we have so much cortisol in our bloodstream, I don't think that you can lose weight very easily. I know that that's happened for me. And now, 41 days later of loving movement, and I'm talking about as little as 3 push-ups a day some days, or 15 minutes of walking. Sometimes I get up to 40 minutes of walking, but normally it's on the low end. All of a sudden, I've dropped the size of my pant size without losing the weight. Now, how do you explain that? I don't know, other than the body is, I'm sleeping more and the body is not as inflamed. So I think there's something to it with your time going into, but you know what I think it's been, Sandy? I think it's been such a blessing for you, because I know you said you didn't get into this because of the ulcerative colitis. You got into it because you were miserable with your weight. But this healing has happened as just a side effect of good eating. I mean, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
It's such a blessing to me. I can't imagine trying to do what I do now and still have to worry about that. I just, is, any healing for anybody, when it's over, it's a miracle. You just feel like you've been loved and taken care of.
Yeah, it's like you just can't believe it. Like from me going from my excruciating knee pain to be able to, like, I work on a college campus and I could not, there was no way I could walk across campus. And now I can easily. And it's just like this awareness of this blessing when you're able to enjoy the simple things. Like Deb says, it is joy. It is absolute joy to be able to do that. I want to touch on one more thing too, because you talked about something that was pretty profound to you about the, and maybe we talked about it enough, I guess, but I just want to talk about advocating for yourself when you're out and about. And you said that you went back to work the other day. You were telling me you went back to work and there would be goodies around. And you really didn't stand up for yourself, but you had told somebody else that, hey, I'm staying away. And that person advocated for yourself. How cool is that?
It was like an eye-opener for me. It happened just like you said. I was a speech language pathologist. I worked in the schools, and anybody who works in a school knows there's the faculty lounge is the place to go. And I had shared with my friend Sarah that I wasn't doing flour or sugar anymore, and we had talked. She understood, and And one day we were in there and everybody was like, Sandy, you need to eat some of this. You need to have some, just taste it, just, and Sarah just turned around and said, just everybody, she doesn't do flour or sugar. Leave her alone. And I was like, oh, it was like somebody'd opened a window for me. And then I had permission, to be like, yeah, I know it's not that I don't want it. It's, I don't do it, but it was that stuck in my mind for forever, because she stood up for me and said what I should have been saying for myself. But it was so wonderful to have her do it.
And don't you kind of feel that, like, once the cat's out of the bag, that now you're just like, I'm free to do this.
Exactly.
It took
Yeah.
me a little while for myself to say, no, I really don't eat that. I just kept on saying no thanks until I'm like, you know what? I stay away from sugar and flour. Oh, okay. It's no flugitarian. This is the word Deb came up with. She's full of it. I mean, full of good stuff. So it's really, we may have been on the other end pushing food in the past. If we made something, have some. And it's all of the mindset, right? We have to get away from thinking we're going to hurt people's feelings. Of course, we want to say it in a nice way, but I truly believe that that's a big part of it. Our traditions, the traditional food, not just traditional holidays or, special holy days or whatever. It's the tradition of food and the tradition of making the food that, really was sweet to the tongue and, so good. And
that's how we showed people we loved them.
Right.
We made them something sweet, something yummy.
And this is a way to try to avoid the inflammation too. As we're wrapping up here, I want to ask you, it seems so obvious to me, but I'm sure there are other things besides your health, but that's probably the biggest non-scale victory, would you say, in this whole thing? But what are your non-scale victories in doing BLE as you've been able to do it? Since 2016, 6 years almost.
Yeah. I think I like life. I don't know how I would feel if I was heavier, if I had, but where I'm at, like right now, I love living. I love being able to do things. My health obviously is huge because I'm able to take care of my family members that need it, but I can enjoy so much. I still have weight I want to come off. I feel like I will feel more me when it does, but I like who I am, and that's huge. I'm not sure if I had stayed where I was, if I could say that. I like who I am. I like what I do. I enjoy life. I really, and I don't know how much of it's tied to BLE, but I have to think part of it is a lot like the colitis. There's not a direct ta-da, but I feel like I wake up in the morning and I'm happier. I think 10 pounds more, I might even be more happy. I don't know.
But when you fit in the red dress again.
Yes. That's, for me, a lot of it is reaching a goal, and I set myself a goal. I'm going to run a half marathon. I'm going to, fix dinner for the family. I'm going to do whatever it is I'm going to do. I set myself a goal. And I think that's a lot of why I list what I'm doing through the day, because my goal is to go through those things, and then if I meet that goal, I'm good. I'm like my husband used to say, he'd look at my list on the fridge, and if they were all checked off, he knew I was happy and he could talk to me. If things weren't checked off, he stayed clear for a while. I like having a goal, and I like meeting it. And in so many ways, BLE has helped me focus on doing that and being a better person, a better me in a lot of ways.
Well, even like with your list making that you call it, basically what your check in and check out is with the groups, it really, to me, opens my eyes that there just really is more to life than just the food. But I notice you put it right at the top, because if we don't get that part right, the other stuff we're really, floundering with. I'm speaking of myself, but that's what I have found, that I am happier. I've always considered myself a happy person, but I'm happier that I can move with, with joy. I really can. I can move more freely. And that's a really big deal. And so I have one more question, Sandy, and that is this. When you think about that day when you were in Idaho and you were, feeling so free, like flying with running, but then you said, I want to just get there and fly again. When you pulled up the weight and you want to get back to where you were, what would you say to somebody who maybe has struggled too, who maybe got a little overconfident on the plan and they're beating themselves up because they're not perfect in their program? What would you say to someone tonight who is in that boat, who just wants to get back?
The
or
program
to just start BLE in the first place.
Just do it. Just do it. I'm not perfect. No, I don't think Susan's not perfect. And she was such a good guide when we started this. I think she's pulled back a little bit, but she shared experiences, and we realized she went through it when she tried to make this work. If she can do it, I can do it. And no, I'm not perfect, and I never will be, But if I get one meal right, and then two, and then three, and then four, one step at a time, just and love yourself. Love yourself no matter what. There's so much good about us. We don't need to stress on what we think is wrong. Love what we have, and then try again. I'm at what would we say, 2,400 days?
I wrote it down, 2,403 days.
And I'm not where I want to be. So ta-da, keep going.
Lather, rinse, repeat. As Deb says, Lisa says, SPT says, Susan Pierce Thompson says, the path is just a few feet from the ditch. So just like move right on back there.
That's right. Right.
So I just really appreciate, Sandy, that you have shared your story with us tonight. It's absolutely incredible. And I hope that others who may be going through the struggle of colitis, that itself, may try this just as a possibility to improve their health. It might help. And as Linda says, as Ed Pettit says, keep coming back until the miracle happens for you. So, so true.
And then hold on. Don't think you're saved. Just hold on.
Hold on, because you don't know what's happening tomorrow. And, just as you said, one meal, build on another, and commit to the next one in front of you. And you'll get there. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
So, any other last words, Sandy?
Oh, I just want to thank you for letting me share. I've been really nervous about doing this, and you've been very kind and very supportive. But it is fun to be able to share a story that you love. And I love this story. I love knowing I'm healing, and I'm getting better, and I'm getting older, and I'm still getting better. So thanks for letting me share.
Absolutely amazing. There are many thanks in the chat, and I just thank you so much, Sandy, for coming and sharing your story. Thank you, everyone. And I'm going to close as I do each week. Good night. Stay bright. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
So, Sandy, how would you like to play 3-Question Thursday?
I would love it.
Wonderful. Well, I would love it too. And here we go. Okay, I can't help it. While we were talking the other night, you said that your neighbor put your roses out for an award and you won first place. I think that's absolutely incredible. Do you have your roses with you? Because I asked you to bring them. So
I have 3 of the bouquet and they're looking pretty sad.
but you know what I want to ask you about that? What
What?
do you do with your roses? Because here again, this is our lives are not just the food, even though it's a big chunk and we spend so much time. This is a perfect example that our lives open up to other things. So what do you do with the roses that they're championship here?
Well, their championship because my neighbor did it. We were out of town and she texted me and she said, I have to confess, I cut some of your roses, but I have to confess that we put them in the fair. But it's okay because they won first prize. So to get that, you actually have to put them in the fair.
I think that's awesome. Believe me, I've planted roses and they're not going to be any prize winning, but I think that's just incredible. And it just goes to show there's more in life, and sometimes the things we do outside of just the food really adds. And I gotta mention, I'm looking in where you're sitting, and you have all these, like, they look like championship stuff where you're running. Are those all medals? Is that
yeah,
what in the world? Are you serious? Is this taking a whole lifetime, or have you been doing this just, when has this been from?
I think the earliest one that is up here is from 1992. It was at a mosquito festival.
Oh my word.
Oh, here it is. Here, yeah, it was at the mosquito festival where we lived, and they're kind of in order. This was the last one that was just. I went with my granddaughter. Ran with me. Only she ran with me for the same race a year ago. This was a COVID race. Who runs a COVID race? You have to do it alone. You can't. Anyway, when she ran this one with me, I told her I would only run it. This was the one from before. I would only run it if she would run at her speed and I would run at mine. So she waited at the finish line for me.
My mind. Okay, I gotta ask you a food question.
Okay.
All right. So what do you like? Do you like to make the fancy meals? You're a mom of 10. They're probably mostly out of the house. But what were you like, the big cook, or do you like make BLE compliant baked goods, or what do you do for your food?
Well, honestly, as they started leaving the house, I started taking off and not doing the big meals. We do a larger meal on Sundays, and my husband and my daughter and we do that. But I have really gone to simple. Just my dad taught me the Navy's motto of keep it simple, stupid. and I do. So I have a pretty routine breakfast. It's something I enjoy. I know I'll enjoy it every morning.
Okay,
And
what is it? That's the same question. What is your simple breakfast?
Well, just some yogurt, compliant yogurt and fruit and a grain. Maybe a Ezekiel toast. If I'm wanting to use my fat in the morning, I'll put a butter on it. But or Triscuits or rice cakes. It's just simple, easy. I can do it without a lot of bother. The same for lunch. I usually have stuff in the fridge that I've made that's just left over, or we've picked up something specific that just, have for lunch. And then dinner's usually even simpler, just maybe a leftover from lunch. I'm not a big producer. I fed 12 people for so many years, and it
Now
was
life is simple.
Mhm.
How
Mhm.
cool is that? That is great. Well, Sandy, thank you so much again for sharing your story. And thank you for playing 3-Question Thursday. You've been a delight.
Thank you for letting me join you. And 3 questions wasn't too bad.
Not bad. You passed the flying colors. So good night, everybody. Stay
Good
bright.
night. Thank you all. Good night.